Imagine the scene. The air is thick with anticipation, the marble floors echoing the footsteps of those who have come to witness history. The Supreme Court of Pakistan, a symbol of justice and authority, stands tall against a brooding sky, its imposing columns hinting at the gravity of the moment unfolding within. In these marbled halls, a unanimous 9-0 ruling is handed down, one that promises a new dawn for millions of women across the country. The judges, resolute and dignified, deliver a message that reverberates far beyond the courtroom walls. On November 3, 2025, the court declared psychological abuse a valid reason for divorce. This landmark decision marks a turning point for a nation long wrestling with its identity, tradition, and the rights of its citizens. For countless women, it is a long-awaited recognition of their struggles, a validation of pain that was too often dismissed or silenced. This was more than a legal judgment, it was a cultural earthquake, shaking the very foundations of societal norms. The court's commitment to dignity and rights for all, especially the vulnerable, sent ripples of hope through the crowds gathered outside, and through homes across the nation. Yet, as hope soared and celebrations erupted, a political storm gathered on the horizon. The winds of change, it seemed, would not blow unchallenged. Parliament moved swiftly, almost urgently, to reshape the judiciary through sweeping constitutional amendments. The halls of power buzzed with debate, as lawmakers sought to assert their own vision for the nation's future. The music of progress, once harmonious and uplifting, was suddenly replaced by the jarring sounds of a constitutional crisis. The unity of celebration gave way to discord and uncertainty. What began as a celebration of justice quickly turned into a desperate fight for its survival. The confetti of victory barely settled before the streets filled with protest and anxiety. Two Pakistans emerged, one striving for justice, equality, and the rule of law, the other seeking to bend the rules, to consolidate political power at any cost. The divide was stark, the stakes higher than ever. The 9-0 ruling embodied hope, a beacon for those yearning for change. The amendments, however, stood as a stark demonstration of control, a reminder that progress is never guaranteed. This clash has shaken the nation to its core, casting a long shadow of uncertainty over democracy and the rule of law. Families gather around televisions, anxious and uncertain about what the future holds. The world is watching as Pakistan stands at a historic crossroads, its next steps poised to shape not only its own destiny, but the global conversation on justice, rights, and the enduring struggle between hope and discord. To truly understand the current crisis facing Pakistan's judiciary, we must look back at the country's turbulent political history. The relationship between the government and the courts has always been complex, marked by moments of cooperation, but also by deep mistrust and confrontation. Over the decades, the judiciary has often found itself at the center of power struggles, sometimes standing firm, sometimes yielding to political pressure. In recent years, tensions between the government and judiciary reached a boiling point, culminating in two major constitutional amendments that would forever alter the balance of power. The 26th Amendment, passed in October 2024, dramatically changed how the judiciary's leadership was chosen. For the first time, a parliamentary committee was given the authority to select the Chief Justice from among the top 3 senior judges. This move, critics argued, opened the door to unprecedented political influence over the courts, undermining the principle of judicial independence that had been carefully built over decades. But the real shock to the system came just a year later, with the passage of the 27th Amendment in November 2025. The country watched in disbelief as the very foundations of its legal system were shaken. This amendment established the Federal Constitutional Court, or FCC, a new body that stripped the Supreme Court of its constitutional authority. The FCC's decisions were now binding on all other courts, effectively making it the highest legal authority in the land and sidelining the Supreme Court's historic role. The Supreme Court, once the guardian of the Constitution, was reduced to an appellate body, limited to hearing civil and criminal cases. Its influence and prestige diminished almost overnight. Making matters worse, the executive branch gained sweeping control over appointments to the FCC. This shift further eroded the already fragile independence of the judiciary, raising fears that the courts would become little more than an extension of the ruling government. Legal experts, senior judges, and civil society leaders quickly condemned these moves, calling them a direct assault on the rule of law and a dangerous step toward authoritarianism. The International Commission of Jurists, along with other global watchdogs, warned that these constitutional changes would cripple the judiciary's ability to act as a check on government power, leaving citizens vulnerable to unchecked executive authority. Decades of legal safeguards, painstakingly built to protect the rights of ordinary Pakistanis, were dismantled in a matter of months, leaving the legal community in shock and uncertainty. With the judiciary under siege, and the balance of power dramatically shifted, the stage was set for a dramatic confrontation between political ambition and the enduring struggle for justice in Pakistan. Just days before the country was thrown into a constitutional crisis, a different kind of history was being made in Pakistan's highest court. The Supreme Court, often seen as the guardian of justice, delivered a judgment that sparked hope and conversation across the nation. In a rare moment of unity, the court's decision was unanimous, signaling the gravity and importance of the issue at hand. The judgment was not just a legal milestone, but a cultural one as well. On November 3rd, a 9-judge bench took a bold step forward by expanding the legal definition of cruelty in marriage. For the first time, psychological, verbal, and emotional abuse were recognized alongside physical violence as valid grounds for divorce. This meant that women who suffered in silence enduring years of non-physical torment could finally seek justice without the impossible burden of providing physical evidence. The court acknowledged that abuse often leaves no visible scars, but its impact is just as real. Justice Aisha A. Malik, who authored the landmark ruling, specifically cautioned lower courts against demanding documentary proof for abuse that typically happens behind closed doors. Her words were a call for empathy and understanding within the legal system. The judgment also took aim at the patriarchal language and attitudes that have long shaped legal proceedings, making it clear that women have multiple legal pathways to exit abusive marriages and that their voices must be heard. Women's rights activists across Pakistan hailed the decision as a monumental victory. For many, it was a long-awaited step toward dismantling the barriers that have trapped women in cycles of abuse and silence. The Supreme Court's message was clear and powerful: women's emotional and psychological well-being matters, and the law must protect it. This decision stood as a beacon of progressive legal thought, shining a light on the path toward a more just and compassionate society. Yet, even as hope grew, this beacon was soon threatened by the looming shadow of political interference, reminding everyone that progress is never guaranteed. The hope from the Supreme Court's ruling was short-lived. The 27th Amendment triggered a constitutional crisis and immediate backlash from the judiciary. In December, Justices Syed Mansoor Ali Shah and Athar Minalla resigned in protest, condemning the dismantling of judicial independence. Their resignations, echoed by others, signaled alarm at the government's actions. The legal community was shaken, and public trust in the system plummeted. The departure of these respected figures marked a dark moment, deepening the divide between defenders and rewriters of the Constitution. With dissenting judges gone, the government swiftly established its new judicial order. Justice Aminuddin Khan was appointed Chief Justice of the FCC, raising concerns about merit and political favoritism. The Judicial Commission of Pakistan was restructured, giving politicians a majority and reducing judges' influence over appointments. Critics argue this new system will rubber-stamp government choices. The amendment also allows the government to transfer high court judges without consent, punishing those who rule independently. This power threatens judicial courage and impartiality. Another controversial change: lifetime immunity for the president and honorary military ranks, even after leaving office. Critics say this creates a class above the law, undermining equality and justice. These moves have been condemned as undemocratic and contrary to Islamic principles. The judiciary's independence is now under unprecedented threat. The legal community erupted in protest against the government's judicial overhaul. Bar associations organized strikes, calling the amendments a constitutional dictatorship. Lawyers warned that political appointments destroy hope for fair hearings. Women's rights activists, while celebrating the November 3rd ruling, fear the courts that granted them rights are being dismantled. "It feels like we were given a gift, but the house is being torn down," said one activist. Ordinary Pakistanis, confused and anxious, see the government changing the rules to ensure it always wins. Public trust in the judiciary is eroding rapidly. The government defends the changes as reforms to make the judiciary accountable to elected representatives. They claim the FCC will streamline constitutional matters and respect Parliament's will. But this narrative struggles against the powerful protests from the legal community. This battle over the judiciary has real consequences for every Pakistani. The Supreme Court once protected fundamental rights, free speech, fair trials, and checks on government power. With its authority diminished and the FCC led by government appointees, these rights are now at risk. For women, the November 3rd ruling's promise depends on a strong, independent judiciary, now in jeopardy. Judges fearing political reprisal may hesitate to enforce progressive rulings. The crisis also threatens economic stability, as investors need a predictable legal system. Judicial upheaval signals risk, scaring away investment crucial for growth. Ultimately, an independent judiciary is a vital check on government power. Without it, accountability weakens, and citizens have fewer avenues for justice. The stakes are high for every citizen's rights and future. Legal experts warn the 27th Amendment gravely impairs the judiciary's ability to check executive power. The FCC is seen not as reform, but as a tool for the government to sideline independent judges. A retired justice called it a structural takeover, a constitutional coup that neutralizes the Supreme Court. The resignations of Justices Shah and Minallah are stark warnings of the crisis. Human rights groups fear the new court will prioritize government interests over citizens' rights. The future of human rights protection in Pakistan hangs in the balance. Some government supporters argue these changes restore parliamentary supremacy and curb judicial overreach. They claim it strengthens democracy by empowering elected representatives. But this view is a minority among legal and human rights communities. Pakistan's judiciary stands at a critical crossroads. On December 5, 2025, Pakistan stands at a precipice. The nation is caught between the promise of justice and the threat of constitutional crisis. The fight for an independent judiciary is a fight for the nation's soul. The landmark judgment for women's rights remains a beacon, but its future is uncertain. Political interference, judicial resignations, and public protests reveal a deep rift in governance. The rule of law must be defended by citizens, professionals, and those in power. An independent judiciary is the shield protecting every citizen from state overreach. The future of justice in Pakistan hangs in the balance. What are your thoughts on this critical moment? Join the conversation.